Hey guys, welcome back. It's Tanner with Lead Automotive, and today we have something really exciting, so let's get into it. First of all, don't mind the shop being a mess, just got back from an event. But, as the title indicates, we finally picked up a drift car. Now, I was looking at the normal stuff, S chassis, Zs, all that. I didn't really want to do a Z, everybody's doing that, and with S chassis, it's either clapped, and it's gonna take 40 grand to make it workable, or somebody already spent the money, and you're overpaying for drift tax. Quick backstory with the car we ended up going with. I found it on Marketplace as a show car, but it already had some of the right mods done to make it a little easier. So it already had a built block, a turbo, and a wide body, which means I can do an angle kit without a whole bunch of hassle. I've already done a lot of work to it because I was under the gun to get ready for an event. I've got some good clips we'll throw in here. But without further ado, here's what we got. All right, so here's what we're working with. It's an IG block, built heads, T28 turbo, running flex, and it's got the Rocket Bunny kit. So that's about the extent of the mods we started with. It's a bit over the top, but that's fine for a drift car. I needed the wide fenders for the angle kit. Not crazy about the white interior, but we'll figure that out. And then we'll get into the stuff I've done after that. Now for what I've done in the short amount of time I've had it so far, we'll start with the interior. So what we did here. Okay, first drift mod, GK Tech handbrake. Really well engineered setup. It bolts the shifter plate. You just have to cut a small hole here in the center console. Not a big deal. And this is the remote setup, so it's got a cable that drives the master here. Comes with a flux master cylinder. I had issues with it dragging, and then the brakes kind of lit on fire a little bit. So switched to Willwood, no problem there. Bolts into the factory center mounts, really solid, well engineered, other than I'd put a Willwood in there. It was like 80 bucks. So that's the first bit. Get around to the dual caliper setup. All right, so now for the important stuff. So as you can see, we went with the Part Shop Max full angle kit. So we got knuckles, lowers, it has adjustable Ackerman plates, adjustable caster, and track width. Super awesome kit, pretty straightforward to install. The most difficult part was you end up having to cut the subframe here to fit the tie rod offset spacers right there. So it moves the tie rods forward, and you end up having to cut the subframe out for clearance, but it wasn't awful. If you're decent with an angle grinder, a few hours, easy day. All right, now to the back of the car. So with the ride height we were targeting, we ended up being like -4 degrees camber in the rear, and I didn't want to smoke through tires in like 2 laps. So we ended up going with white line adjustable lower control arms, Apexi adjustable upper control arms, and the reason for doing both, if you're slammed and then just get lowers, it runs the axle pretty far and you run into, axle like binding issues, or if you end up going too far out, you have issues there. So uppers and lowers is the right way to do this. Now the theme you'll see with this whole build, I ended up doing torque stripe on all the fasteners. Now that's an aviation maintenance standard. It's not Loctite, so effectively what happens is it's a visual indicator, so if the bolt breaks loose, you'll see these separate and you'll know it's loose. So it's really good, especially for suspension components and heim joints and whatever. And I ran in all the adjusters. Same for the front. I guess we'll go back, look at these. So every single bolt nut, whatever, has been torque striped. And it just makes it a lot easier to verify track side, like if anything's popping loose. All right, all said and done, here's what we ended up with. So it made 400 wheel on E85, which is plenty, nothing too crazy, but it'll keep the tires lit. And then it drives phenomenally, super easy. Like you can float it, you can light the tires back off, reposition, super easy. So I'll show you what working with in the suspension here. Ended up -5 degrees camber in the front, 1/8 of an inch toe out, 6 degrees of caster. In the rear, currently running 0 degrees of camber. Depending on the tire wear, I might end up going a little positive with the camber gain on the sweep. And then in the rear, it's 1/16 of an inch toe in. So it was super predictable, easy, neutral. You just initiate and then you can like push to angle. You're not fighting at all, the easiest car to drive. So great setup so far. We'll put some clips in and we've got an event coming up in a few weeks. We'll get some good footage. So all said and done, it was a pretty easy car to set up. The most difficult part, surprisingly, was front wheel fitment. So you think with the body kit it'd be fine, but fender rub isn't an issue with these. Basically, if you run too wide of a setup, like with spacers, you end up rubbing on the rear and the front of the wheel wells. Not enough spacer, and you end up hitting like the frame on the inside. So I ended up going around a few different spacer iterations, a few different fitment options on the wheels. Ended up landing on 18 by 8.5 with a 225 and a 1-inch spacer in the front. Increase the track width by I think 1.5 inches with the kit. And then in the rear, running 9.5-inch wheels on 235s, because that's max tire you can use for the series we're aiming for. All right, so as always, if this is the kind of thing you're interested in, stick around. It should be a good time. A lot of braking, fixing, modding Japanese cars. There's gonna be a lot of drift content coming up. Gonna try to get the Desert Street League series coming up here shortly, which will admittedly be a lot of braking and fixing this car. The RX-7 needs work, STI needs work. There's a lot to do, so if that's the kind of thing you like, stick around. It'll be a good time.